This is our sixth session, which is the last session for week 8. And here in this session, we will talk about Japanese food gaining popularity in South Korea as well. And while Korean food has been gaining popularity among Japanese consumers in the last few decades, especially after the 1990s, Japanese food and Japanese-style restaurants also have been becoming popular among younger generation Koreans since the 1990s. This is a natural phenomenon in a sense because since 1990s, with the visa-free system and so on, so these two countries were exchanging huge number of tourists, students, and so on. So naturally, they would learn the others' culinary culture and new kind of new styles of bars and cafes and so on. So in Korea, there have been many old-style Japanese restaurants already, which is a colonial legacy. And in South Korea, it is called 일식집. Now, 일식집 is not for young Koreans. First of all, the 일식집 is a very old style, and where you expect to have particularly sashimi and chobap, which is more traditional Japanese style sushi. And they are all very expensive. And also, you drink Japanese sake, the Japanese, the rice alcohol. And also, because these 일식집s are frequented by old generation, they would like to have a fishy stew, Japanese style, as well as a Korean style. But anyway, these 일식집 have been in Korea and still are in South Korea, but now this new edition was different from this old 일식집 style. The new one is more kinds of, especially visible is Izakaya style bars, which became available probably in the last decade or so, or 2 decades. And the old style Japanese restaurants in Korea that originated from colonial period was declining, while this new style in the 21st century, new style Japanese restaurants such as izakaya, but also other specialty restaurants such as ramen noodle house or tonkatsu, donburi, and yakitori, all kinds of the Japanese food where you can find ordinary izakaya style bars in Japan. Now they became popular among younger generation in South Korea. So around the university town, any university town, you would see one or even more the izakaya style Japanese restaurant. And behind this, as I already explained, was the increasing quite huge number of people exchange between these two countries. And particularly because after the visa was waived for Koreans to visit Japan, now the number of Korean visitors in Japan surged, and now they are one of the biggest group who visit in Japanese tourism market. And everywhere in Japan, you see that the hotel, the staff, they would speak at least some Korean, such as 안녕하세요 and so on. And not only as an impact of Hallyu, but also simply because so many Koreans are visiting Japan, and now they have to, they learn Korean and they have to serve Koreans, so they speak at least some Korean, which was not true in the past. And that also brought the consumption of Japanese food in Korea and Korean food consumption in Japan as well. And going back to these izakaya style bars, they are really popular among young Koreans, and as I said, around the university town or wherever young people like a Hongdae street and so on, where young people come and to enjoy food, you will always find the Japanese izakaya style bars there. And these are the typical Japanese izakaya bars look in Seoul, and just like in Japan, they look like Japanese, and the food they serve is the ordinary, what you can get ordinary izakaya bars in Japan. And the good point, the strength of izakaya bars is that you can enjoy so many different kinds of small amount of food while enjoying your drink. Normally beer, but also other kind of alcohol. Now, let me summarize what we have been covering up to now in this today's lecture. We covered that how these Zainichi Koreans, who are the descendants of the early migrant workers who went to Korea and stayed in Japan after the Second World War, and what kind of prejudice and discrimination they have been going through. And within this, they gained, that strengthened their Korean identity, which is represented by their own food, particularly kimchi and garlic and chili pepper and yakiniku and so on. And the traditional Japanese negative perception of Korean food and Koreans changed after the 1980s, partly because Japanese society became way more prosperous and democratic, but also South Korea's rise in terms of economy, and also the impact of South Korean, the popular culture among the Japanese middle-aged ladies, and then later the younger generation. So all these brought the changes. And also Chinese Koreans also popularized the grilled meat yakiniku, and particularly horumonyaki, which was very difficult to imagine that the previous generation in Japan might be able to consume. But they are gaining popularity among younger generation. And also the popularity of Korean food in Japan reflects the improved social and cultural status of the Chinese people per se as well. So in general, in the last few decades, we have been seeing that the status of Chinese Koreans was going up together with newcomers' activities, and that's thanks to many things, but particularly Hallyu. Thank you, and I will end my 8th week lecture here. Thank you very much.